The Last Symphony is a hidden object game set in mid-1960s England. As the player, you are a museum curator given the task to create an exhibit about R. Carmine, a composer from your city with a strange past, which led him to stay out of the public eye in the later half of his life. To create the exhibit, you must find and collect objects from a given list in 3 different rooms in the Carmine house. Each room has an area you can magnify and find more objects. Just like in life, nothing is ever quite as it seems on the surface, so you must be patient and dig deeper to try to understand the Carmine's story. The real task of the game is to find out more about the Carmines and what reasons might have led the composer to change his musical style in the midst of his career. Before moving on to the next list, you must find a good amount of objects from the list. Some are in plain sight, but others blend into the environment. If you get frustrated and start over-clicking areas trying to find objects, you will hear from Miss Ruth outside. Speaking of Miss Ruth, Robert Carmine's sister, she is in the game to tell you more about the objects you have found. In the process of giving the objects to her, you will find that many objects have a story behind it, and others may seem inherently useless to the narrative. For the objects that have a deeper story behind it, you will collect the ones that share a common past, giving a clearer glimpse into the Carmine's history. Even though Ruth gives small explanations, the objects ultimately give their own narrative to the story. You will find once you click and collect objects from the list, they will produce their own sound, giving a hint of the object's history as well as how it might connect to the Carmine's past. Once you collect objects with connecting stories, it is your job to load them into the truck and pack them away. Once packed, you can move on to the next list of objects to find in the house. At the end, you will have completed 3 lists and packed away 3 boxes of objects to take to the exhibit. One pack of objects describes the story of Robert's childhood, a musical prodigy carefully shaped by his parents, yet still playful with numerous toys still kept around the house. Although a portrait of his father revealed a sound alluding to how strict they were about his musical practice, the music connected with his childhood remained light and airy. It is not until you discover a pack of objects pertaining to Robert's involvement in the war that the music changes. In this pack, there are medals revealing how brave Robert was. Although he was full of valor, Ruth tells of how the war took a sad toll on him. With the discovery of Robert's hearing aid, it also seems as though the war burdened him with bad hearing. Though the war seems to have an important role in the sharper and darker change of music, one of the most interesting packs is the one about Peter, a young German boy Ruth and Robert took in at the start of the Second World War. They taught him English, and later Ruth tells of how he left to study medicine. Neither Robert nor Ruth had children, so it seems as though Peter brought cheerfulness back into the music. Although the focus seems to be mostly on Robert, Ruth has a few packs of objects from her past. One in particular is the one about her past boyfriend Edward, who she parted with to make her brother Robert a priority. Once you've packed away 3 boxes, a newspaper article is shown telling about the turnout of the exhibit. If you've connected the objects well, the article will tell of a positive reception by attendees. And if the loaded objects weren't connected at all, you will see that the attendees of the reception were left confused on the story behind the composer, R. Carmine. Either way, the ending allows you to listen to layers of short pieces of music each object was designated with. The layers of music parallel the layers of stories you found behind the objects collected. When packed together carefully, the objects play one coherent song, as well as tell one coherent story. So what is the final conclusion for the composer's change in style? One theory of mine is that Ruth took over the latter half of Robert's career. It seemed particularly strange for her to leave Edward to make her brother a priority. Also, the composer is initially referred to as just R. Carmine, so the R could mean both Ruth or Robert. Either way, this game shows how much simple objects can tell stories that the characters themselves want to hide. We all have secrets. Will you find them?